What's up, y'all? What's going on? Happy, I guess, Halloween. Today's Halloween. Are y'all participating in any festivities today? Are y'all trick-or-treating? Are y'all going to any parties? Or are y'all quarantining? Let me know. Let me put the topic in the comments real quick. It's going to be a good one. If y'all can hear me, let me know in the comments section. Let me hear. If you can hear me, let me know in the comment section. I'm going to wait for a few people to come in real quick. Let me let this thing fill up a little bit before we bring Frankesha on. I'm typing out the topic though real quick. How y'all doing? If you can hear me, let me know in the comments. Can you hear me? Let me know. All right. All right, I'm about to bring Frankesha on real quick, and we're gonna get this thing going. All right. It's gonna be a good one. Okay, I see the comments. We can hear you. Hey,
Hi.
how's it going?
Good. How are you today?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good. Have me a little coffee. I'm having a late caffeine fix.
I see. You're at home right now?
I don't work on Saturdays.
Really?
I only work one day in the store just now. One day a week.
What? Oh, we got a lot to
Yes.
catch up on. We got a lot to catch up.
Yeah, one day.
We have
Sometimes two, but for the most part, just maybe one day a week.
We got a lot to catch up on. Okay. Well, I guess before we start, if you could let everybody know who you are, where you're located, what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Frankesha Watkins. I'm in Dallas, well, the DFW Metroplex. I have a beauty supply store in Arlington, Texas, BPolished Beauty Supply. We'll be in a business, it'll be 2 years in January. It's coming quickly. By day, also, I'm an HRIS manager for a media company, so I still work full-time in addition to the store. And I mentor now.
Nice. Man, yeah, that's definitely a large plate. It's a lot of things going on
It
at the
is.
same time. And do you live right around the corner from your store? Like, are you able to get to your store pretty quickly?
I recently just moved to Euless. So I was in Capel, but now I'm in Euless. So I live in Euless now. And
Okay.
it's about a 25-minute drive without traffic, but something's always going on 360. So
Nice. So before you moved to Euless, when you were in Coppell, how long was the drive?
that was about a 45-minute drive. It was lengthy, long and tiring, especially having to leave the store late at night or get there early in the morning. So yeah, 45 was a bit too much.
Right, right. So I want people to understand what you're doing or what you used to do as far as like your commute.
Yeah,
Because after work, well, even we'll take it a step further. The job that you have, where is that located?
that's downtown Dallas.
Downtown Dallas. So how far is downtown Dallas from the store?
It's about an hour with traffic.
Okay. So I guess a normal day
I need a helicopter.
right. A normal day would consist of you waking up, going to work, right? And
Yep.
then going from your job in downtown Dallas to Arlington
Yep.
to work at the beauty supply store after work for some hours, shut it down, and then go home and get ready for the next day.
Yeah. Then drive to Capel.
And
So
then
I'm
drive to
literally
Capel.
like, yeah.
Right. So it's like a big loop,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And I going to go to the store every day after work, but there are times in this business where you will have to fill the gaps. Even if you have an amazing staff, stuff happens. People get sick. People, have to take off. So you do have to be accessible and have flexibility to jump in when you're needed, for sure.
No, definitely, definitely. Shout out to you. So I know you said that your 2-year anniversary is coming up. Can you talk about like your first year in business? How was that financially? Like, how'd you get started? Just the whole
Yeah. So first year of business was probably the most challenging business. Is the year where I questioned myself if I make the right decision. I think people get into this business and think automatically you're just going to jump in and start balling till you fall. When you go into a beauty supply store, like especially an Asian beauty supply store, it's always jumping. There's people going in and out, the parking lot's full. Well, that's not the case. And it's not the case for, I think, most Black owned beauty supply stores. So it was challenging. There was time, and this is one of the reasons why I've continued to work, is times where I had to use a part of my paycheck to cover the store bills. There was times where I had to scale back on hours for my staff to cover so I didn't have payroll costs. So first year was definitely the most challenging. But again, I tell people all the time, if you have the heart for it, if you're doing it for the right reasons and not necessarily just to say, I have a beauty supply store and I'm gonna, retire off this, then that's your why. Basically your why is what gets you through the hard times. So first year was challenging. How I got started, I tell people all the time, owning a beauty supply store was never in my plans. Like, it's not something that I grew up thinking that I was going to do. I've always had a love for beauty supply stores. Beauty supply stores were therapeutic for me. So after Friday, after getting off of work, I would go to the beauty supply store and just like peruse the aisles. Didn't really need anything, but I was that person that would go to beauty supply stores and just look around, buy little stuff or whatever. And then maybe in 2018, I just kept getting this heavy, I kept hearing, open a beauty supply store. Right. Everybody who follows me knows that I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God. I believe that he gives us thoughts and visions and dreams, that's beyond us. And so I kept hearing that. And so I was like, where is this coming from? Because I don't know anything about retail. I don't know anything about beauty supplies besides what I'm deep conditioning my hair with. That's all, right? And so I started researching, once it became so heavy on me that I couldn't, ignore that sound. I just started researching it, came across some information like about boot camps and all kinds of stuff. And I just jumped on that opportunity. I took a job at Sally's Beauty because I wanted to see if this was truly what I wanted to do. Right. It's one thing to say, I want to open a beauty supply store, but another thing when you're in the day-to-day, having to deal with customers, having to deal with rude customers, doing inventory. And when I was at Sally's, I wasn't a manager. I was sweeping the floor, breaking down boxes, opening inventory. I was in the thick of it. And when I tell you, it was so fulfilling to me. I was so excited to leave my full-time job to go to my part-time job. Then I knew that I was going in the right direction.
Nice. That's amazing. So when you first started your store, like, tell me about the experience of trying to get customers to come into the doors. Like, was it pretty easy to get them to just come in and start buying? Or was there any trials and tribulations around the marketing behind it?
It's easy. Like, when you first open, everyone is excited because you're the new Black-owned beauty supply store in the area. So everyone is coming. I never had a grand opening because the soft launch actually turned into a grand opening. Before I opened my store, I had probably about 2,000 followers on Instagram. And that's only because, as soon as I got my logo, I started pushing content out about hair care. I kept people involved in the process of me, looking for a location. And I would say coming soon to DFW Metroplex, that kind of stuff. So when I opened my doors, it turned into this massive, grand opening. I remember I posted a clip and it was just like a sneak peek. It was like 30 seconds, if that. Maybe 15 seconds, and it just kind of spanned the store. And I said, sneak peek, soft launch coming, January 17th. I posted it on our Facebook group, and it went by our Facebook page, and it went viral. Like
Wow.
to this day, I think it reached like 67,000 people. Like, and sometimes people still like it, but it went viral. So first day opening was amazing. First month opening was amazing. And then you start to see, and this is being transparent, you
Mm-hmm.
start to see those sales declining. So we were doing good through January, through March, April, that type time frame. And then sales started to decline. And I think it was multiple reasons. One, because we hadn't scaled our business to compete with the other stores. When you get in this business, everybody wants you to have everything right away. They want you to have all the hair. They want
Right.
you to have all the products. They want you to look like the Asian stores. They have everything. They have stuff that doesn't even sell, but they have it on their shelves because it looks good, right? And so we lost some customers, and it's crazy because even to this day, I have customers that are just now coming back that I've been open, even though I've been open for 2 years, almost 2 years, they're just now coming back. They're like, oh, wow, you've changed the store so much since since you first opened. I'm like, yeah, well, of course I have.
Right.
So first year was hard. And then two, getting people into the store, it can be challenging,
Mm-hmm.
because we're so accustomed to going to our local beauty supply store, the one across the street, the one on the way home from work. It's easy because there's beauty supply stores on every single corner, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we have to be more intentional about going to our Black-owned beauty supply stores where we're not everywhere on every single corner.
Right.
But for me, I've consistently market. I always advertise my business. I tell people that if you don't go hard for your business, you can't expect anybody else to. There's times where people have seen me in Arlington up the street from the store at the Walmart handing out flyers, or around the corner. Like, I'm that grassroots type of person. Like, I don't mind putting my shoes on and going outside or going to the Parks Mall, handing out, business cards. Like, hey, yeah, I hand people business cards in the Jack in the Box window. Like, I'm always ready.
Right.
Like, hey, I own the beauty supply store down the street. Come check me out. Like, I'm always ready. But yeah, it's hard to get people to come in, and it's hard to get people to keep coming back because, again, people want you to have everything. And I think we have been conditioned to be to have sensory overload, which is what I call it when we go into these beauty supply stores. You see everything, and if you go into another store and it's not like overwhelming, you kind of feel like they don't, they're not stocked. Well, it's not true. We're stocked, but we're just not stocked with every single thing that people don't want. So yeah.
Right. Can you talk about, so in the first year, you said that your grand opening, everybody came, and then you started to see the numbers kind of go down. How did
Yeah.
did that affect you mentally, or like how did that affect you?
Yeah, so I honestly think that, and I don't even know if this is a term, but entrepreneurial depression. I will say that I had some really lows, because you literally can go from having, let's just say, $1,000 day to having a $75 day, and you don't know why, So
Yeah.
the highs and lows of this business, it really takes a toll on you. And then you also have to deal with, people coming in and you don't have what they want. And they say stuff like, I really want to support you, but you don't have what I need. And so I have to go up the street to whoever, And so it does take a mental toll on your business, on you, your business, and yourself. But you kind of have to feel like you have to understand that you're not in it alone. Like, I have talked to other store owners and like, how's business? And they'd be like, we're slow, and all that stuff. And so it kind of makes me feel better when I hear other businesses like are in the same boat, but it does take a toll on you mentally. And there's times where I didn't get out the bed, like I can't deal. Like, I'm doing all this hard work for the community to give people a different shopping experience, and no one's coming in. Like, I don't understand what they want from me.
Right.
And you have to be strong mentally to not let it get down. It's hard. It's hard. And I'll say, even some days today, I'm like, where are all the people?
Right.
Like, where are all the people? I just bought all this inventory and now no one's coming in here into the store. You know, like, what am I supposed to do? But yeah, for sure. Definitely depression is part of entrepreneurship.
No, definitely. So you started your business January 2018.
Yes.
It
Anywhere 2018, but we opened our doors 2019.
Okay. Yes. 2019, January 2019, you started with a bang. You know, everyone's coming. Then you started seeing everything kind of dip. And then 2020, when 2020 came, January 2020, how was everything going at the beginning of the year? Was it trending upwards or was it still kind of like down?
It was still down, you know, like, and another thing that contributed to us going down was a big beauty supply store that's well known,
Mm,
Metroplex, opening literally 8 months after I opened, 2 miles up the road, not like around the corner, but literally right off of 20, where it's easy accessibility.
right.
So that was another part of our decline in sales, if you ask me. But January, we were still trending down, you know, and I was again in that mindset, like, I can only do this so many years, you know, I can only continue to pay my check with, for me, my own living expenses and
Right.
the store expenses, you know, like, I can't keep doing this, so something has to shake. That's in my
Right.
mind in 2020. That's where I was at. I'm like, it has to get better. It has to get better. And,
Right.
you know, I started doing Facebook ads, you know, and just doing anything I can do to get people to, one, know that we are in the area, and two, to come in and support.
No, that's what's up. I'm seeing some of the comments. One Scott OG says, I'm only shopping at BPolished and I'm coming by today to pick up some stuff. By the way, I know what shop you're talking about. I don't shop there.
Yeah, she's a faithful customer. I know her Instagram. She's faithful.
Yeah, and then earlier Cody had said she's been to your shop as well. So shout out to Cody for that. Okay, so things in 2020 didn't really start off too well because for a lot of businesses in the first quarter it tends to be bad, right? Because a lot of clients and customers have just come off the holiday shopping, right? So
Right.
you bought stuff for Black Friday, you bought stuff for Christmas. Then the new year comes and you have to pay rent January 1st. Then
Mm-hmm.
February 1st comes, you have to pay rent. And, you know, if anybody knows with refunds and the IRS, they've moved that back. You used to be able to get your tax refund in the beginning of January. Now they have it set up to where you get it at the end of February, which
Right.
affects a lot of businesses because people are looking for that boost coming off of Christmas. A lot of times when we spend
Mm-hmm.
money, we know that, okay, I've calculated that, okay, if I spend 1,000, I'm probably going to get about 3,000 coming back for tax season. So that first quarter, I would think, was kind of rocky. But
Yep.
then the pandemic happens March 15th,
Yeah.
right? So you're already in a rocky place. And then the
Right.
pandemic happens. Talk about your mindset, where you were. Were you like, man, this is it? Or like, what was going through your mind at that time?
You know, so when everything started getting bad and there was talks of a shutdown, I was like, okay, you know, one of the first things I did is I started to try to update our website as much as I possibly can, because we've always had a website and we've always shipped. It was never something that I actively pushed, but I started going in overload like mode to like get everything on the website just so I can still actively do that piece. And then I also, you know, was keeping everybody informed. I'm like, hey, I don't know if we're going to have to shut down. Make sure you guys come and get the things that you need. That way, you know, in case we're not here, you know, we will, you know, you can get what you need. And I think when everything was about to shut down, no one was thinking that it would be like a serious shutdown
Right.
long term. I think people in their head was like, okay, we're going to be done like a week. We back open. Dallas is going to be back popping. Didn't
Right.
happen like that.
Right.
So, yeah, in my head, I was like, okay, God, you know, like, what are we going to do? You know, and I'm one of those people, like, I've tried to condition myself to not stress over the things that I cannot control.
Mm.
The pandemic was nothing that I could control. All I could do was control what I could do for Be Polished. And at the same time, which was key into the success that we had, was I switched systems. And I didn't want to do the investment, which was about a $2,000 investment to go to Clover, which is my POS system.
Yeah.
But something in my head was like, you need to go ahead and switch systems and go to the cloud. That way you can have accessibility, all that stuff.
Mm.
So I was
Hold on,
in the
hold on.
process.
Which system were you using before you switched to Clover?
I was using like QuickBooks. And so basically it was
Okay.
a software like on a computer, you know.
Okay.
I didn't have, and I remember you came to my store and you were saying you need to go to the cloud. And I was like, I know, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
And so February I actually ordered it and I got it in March. And I remember we switched everything over right before the pandemic happened. And that was key. That was the only way I was able to do everything I was able to do. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize that it was right before the pandemic. I thought it happened a little bit before. So
I think I switched like in March.
Right.
Flipped it over, yeah.
Because I don't think a lot of people realize that, you know, in this day and age, if you have a storefront, you need to be able to find a way to access things that are going on in your store without having to go to the store. Like
exactly.
the way we're moving, you need to utilize technology, and it's so important to be able to do that. Like if you have a bunch of different locations and you have inventory in these locations, how are you able to manage that? Do you have to do the old school route and go to each store, or is there a system that you have everything in? You know, so shout out to you for actually saying, you know what, I'm going to get this done. And you got it done during the time of your business where sales weren't really great because of people who didn't have money to spend, you know, so shout out to you for that.
Yeah.
So we go into the pandemic, which happened around March 15th, the middle of March, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything is going haywire. Dallas is saying, hey, all businesses need to shut down. You don't need to be open. You shouldn't be open or whatever, you know, but we don't know how long things are going to be closed.
Right.
How were you able to mentally say, you know what, I hear what y'all are saying, but nah, like I got to get it. Like, talk about that.
You know, so the first thing I did, and I think I texted you, I said, I'm going to offer free shipping. Because at first, you know, as the pandemic was happening, the orders for Tarrant County, which is where BPolished is, kept updating. So first it was like no one was doing curbside and all that stuff. Everything was completely shut down. And so I was like, okay, everything is shut down. And I remember when I got noticed that I had to shut down, it was on a Sunday and I was at the store. I think it was on a Sunday and I was working and everybody was talking about it. And, you know, I was on Facebook and I went next door to Sarah Secret, my neighbor, and we were talking about it. And then I checked my email and it was from Tarrant County, like the fire marshal, whatever. And it was basically saying effective at 6 o'clock, all retail stores have to shut their doors until further notice. And I was like, and I just like, what? And so I went live on the Facebook page and I got a little emotional. I was like, you guys, I got to shut down. I don't know when I'm going to open back. You know, I'm sorry, but we're shutting our doors. And so the first thing I did after that was just did online sales. You know, like I did free shipping. I actually did free shipping for maybe the first 2 months of the pandemic, just free shipping to boost sales because I'm like, okay, I have to have some type of revenue coming into the store, you know, for the store. And so, yeah, I just did free shipping initially until the order was updated and it changed. That's what changed the game.
Wow. Wow. So you did free shipping, but I think you also at some point ended up doing curbside delivery as well, right?
Yeah.
So when you were doing curbside, were you doing it by yourself or did you have any employees helping you? Like, how was that happening or whatnot?
Yeah. So this is actually where the pivot happened for BPolished. And I always say COVID is an unfortunate blessing. It completely transformed the business for me. I got notice about it. I read the order because I was keeping up with the order, like what we could and could not do as a retail business. And the order said that if you have online sales, you can fulfill your online sales in your store. And so I was like, okay. And it also said that you can do curbside. So I was like, okay, no one will be in this. I was like, you know what? Okay. And so initially in my head, what I was planning to do, I was planning to do phone orders because my new system allowed me to take payment over the phone, print receipts, everything. So I started to do phone orders and it was just me and one other employee at that time. and she was coming in helping me fulfill online orders, because at that time, by that time, we were getting like 10 and 15 online orders a day. Like, people were really ordering their stuff. And so once we started doing phone orders, it became busier. People were calling like, hey, I want to pick this up, you know. And I'm like, okay, we ring them up, print the receipt, have the bag by the door. So we started doing that. And then the order said, you guys can do curbside. And it went crazy, because take in mind, every other beauty supply store was closed. There was no beauty supply stores, no other beauty supply stores that were open probably the first week, maybe 2 weeks of the pandemic.
Right.
So we went viral. We went viral because they were like, there's a beauty supply store in Arlington that's doing curbside. And so we had people coming from McKinney. And if anybody's on the, you know, DFW, they know how far McKinney is from Arlington. We had people coming from everywhere in the Metroplex.
Wait, people were driving from McKinney to Arlington?
We had people coming from everywhere. Cedar Hill, DeSoto, Red Oak, Waxahachie, everywhere coming to get hair care products. We had stylists that were calling in large orders for hair, like braid hair, and it was crazy. It was crazy. But at that point, I had to bring all my employees back. So it was 5 of us that were working, because we had online orders going on. We had people on the phone taking over the phone orders. And then we had purchased a handheld at that point. And we were outside taking orders on the handheld. And what we would do is we would get what they need, take their card, their payment, ring them up, get the receipt, take it outside to them. And it was bananas. Like, I still to this day don't understand how we did what we did in that time. I don't know how we did it.
It's God, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's God. It's a testament to you saying, I'm not going to quit. You know, I'm going to find a way. Because I don't think people realize the bills that you have to pay as a beauty supply owner, storefront owner, you know. I don't think people realize the expenses. I don't think people realize the margins aren't really that great either at times, you know. And it's so much harder to operate a beauty supply store than, let's say, an accounting firm that all you got to do, you know, is you bring on clients, you hire your staff, but you don't really have product you're selling. You know, you're selling your value and everything that you bring to the table, you know. So I always have much respect for people in retail, because I feel it's a challenge, especially in the beauty supply industry. Because even your competitors, the people that you're going against, they have so much money to where they're able to go buy large amounts of products and sell it for a cheaper price, essentially moving people out the business, you know. So shout out to you for really making that happen. So in that time, you 3X your sales, because I was looking at your numbers last night. I didn't want to say 3X if that wasn't true. So I made sure I logged in and I was doing some multiplication and addition. And you 3X'd everything, and you were able to retain your employees and pay them during that time. So they didn't have to go on unemployment. They still had a job. And you did all this without really even applying. When did you apply for the EIDL and PPP? Did you even, like, you did that long time afterwards, right? Like, you were so laser focused on this.
Yeah, so April, like end of March and April, and then I think we got to open back up in like May. I think middle or May. They were allowing retail stores open in May, but I didn't open in May. I think I opened in June, because I still wanted, you know, things to kind of settle down a little bit. But yeah, and I think I applied for the EIDL it had to be May or so, maybe May or June. Yeah, and then the PPP, I got that like in July or August or somewhere around. Yeah. But yeah, in April, we fulfilled, I think I had it in one of my posts, but April, we did almost 2,000 curbside and call-in orders. And I need people to understand what that means. That means you give us your list. We go into the store. We get our baskets, put everything in there, ring it up, make sure everything's right. So when you think about going in and out the store, no one's coming in the store. So 2,000 of that, and then another 157 online orders. And that was with me closed because we were so busy. I had to close on Sundays and Mondays and my hours were reduced. So I was only doing like 10 to 6 or 12 to 6 around there. But I started closing on Sundays and Mondays. Sundays for me and my staff to rest because it was taking a toll on our bodies. And then Monday because every week I was having to order inventory to restock. Like I would order these big 5 pounds of bleach, like hair bleach, like 20 of them. And by the Monday they would be gone. So I had to close on Sundays and Mondays to rest and to restock. We were crazy busy. Crazy. Yeah.
So your vendors that you were ordering from, did you have any issues in getting your product on time? Because I know a lot of people that sell product. Well, you were buying product from people locally, or was it internationally? Can you talk about that and the timing on that?
So product wise, like shampoos and conditioner stuff, there was one vendor that was open here in Dallas. You know, everybody from the Metroplex, Harry Hines is full of places and resources, right?
Yeah.
So there was one vendor that was open here in the Metroplex where I can get my products from. And honestly, that was the only way that we were able to continue up with the amount of sales we were having, because I would do my orders on Sunday night. I would email them to her, like, these are the things I need to restock. And then on Monday, I would go pick them up in my car, which I don't have. There was times where I'm like, my uncle had to go get my braid hair and stuff like that because it was that much inventory that we were getting on a weekly basis. So I was getting products here, and then my vendors like model, I would just be placing my order and they would ship it to me. You know, they were a little bit behind too because they weren't operating at full scale, but they were, you know, giving me everything I needed. I'm like, hey, I need, you know, 5, you know, a case of this and a case of that. They'd be like, oh, are you guys open? I'm like, we're doing curbside. Just send me my stuff. Don't worry about what I'm doing here. I'm paying you. Give me my stuff. So yeah. So a combination of both.
Nice. No, what a story, man. Like, obviously, there's so many businesses that were affected, you know, that had to go out of business. And, you know, the fact that you were able to pivot and say, you know what, I'm going to figure out how to keep this ship moving, how to keep this thing going, not just for me, but for my team, my employees, you know, so that way we can have a living moving forward and we can just continue thriving.
Right.
And then even the circumstances as far as how far you live from your location, were you working during that time too? Were you still having your job?
Yeah. So at that time when the pandemic happened, you know, everybody moved to work from home. So we weren't going into the office. So, you know, what I would do is I would, you know, pack up my laptop, and I have an office in the back, you know, and I would jump in when I needed to be, but I would be, you know, at my computer because at my full-time job, I also am a manager, right? So I have 2 employees under me. I'm an HRIS manager. And so I have responsibilities on both sides. But yeah, I would have my backpack, and sit in the back, and then on lunch when it got overly busy, jump in when I needed to. So it was crazy because there was times where I would be on a and have a phone to my ear, you know. So it's like my Zoom is here and I'm taking an order over here, you know, and so hopefully nobody on my job is watching, but you know. But yeah, so it was just one of those things, like it had to be done. And I'm like, my body is weary, I'm tired, but I gotta push through. And I did.
Talk about perseverance for real. Because I know for me, I don't know if I would have had the mental fortitude to really do all that. You know, I don't think people realize that even at your job, you're not just like a first year staff. You're a manager, which means that you have ultimate responsibility there. So you had to figure out how to handle both at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So that's truly amazing. Shout out to you for that, you know.
Thank you.
You've told me about some of the publications that have reached out to you to feature you. Can you talk more about that? Like, you've also gotten some good press from some different publications.
Yeah, so earlier this year, Shade Room selected us to be one of the business that they that they actually advertised. They did a Black-owned business. I think it was February. They advertised Black-owned business, and I was like, last year I was like on my vision board, I want to get on the shade room, right? And so when they reached out to me and say, hey, we want to highlight you, I was like, oh my God. So yeah, Shade Room highlighted us. CNN recently highlighted us, which I'm a little mad about how they used me in some of the clips, but I did have an interview with CNN. But yeah, we've had some great press, and word of mouth has been our biggest advocate. Most of our customers come from somebody who's told somebody who has told someone. And now we have like a major presence in the Metroplex. Like I can go somewhere. I think before COVID, I went to Spa Castle. When I was in the bathroom fixing my hair, I was with my sisters and everything. They were like, "You're the owner of BPolished." And I'm like, yes. So it's just one of those things, but yeah, we have a major presence, and even people who have not necessarily shopped with us, they've heard about us, and so it's crazy. Yeah.
So for those who aren't in Dallas, can they still shop with you?
Yeah, for sure. So we do online sales, and a lot of our online sales come from people that are far from Arlington, right? But want to shop with us. So we do online sales, and we do like 2-day shipping, and we have some other stuff in the works that I won't really talk about right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely you can shop with us,
Love it. What's the best or the biggest thing that you love about being in the beauty supply industry? Like, what spurred you to? Well, I know you touched on it earlier, but like, what really drives you to own a beauty supply store and just keep going? Is there a mission behind what you do?
Yeah, so for me, I always say it's the service piece. This is not the business for you if you do not like to be a service to others. And before I opened my store, I was always into hair care, healthy hair care, growing my own hair. I had my own natural hair journey. I was in the kitchen whipping up products, that kind of stuff. I actually thought I would have my own product line, not a store, but for me, I enjoy talking about hair care. I enjoy the beauty industry, and I always tell people, like, if you don't like being a service to others, if you don't like this industry, you just think it's going to be some fast money, this is not the industry for you. Because you have to have a different why when the times get hard, because you will have some hard times unless you just have these unlimited resources. And even if you have unlimited resources, it is going to still be somewhat challenging to get people to come and continually support you. So for me, it's because I really have a passion of helping people and healthy hair care, whether you're natural, relaxed. I could talk about hair all day, and I'm not a stylist, never been a stylist. And it's just because, I wanted to give the community something different. We've seen over the course of the years where we've been locked into stores. Black women have been abused going into some of these stores. Not saying all Asian stores are bad, because I've been into some really nice ones that have been very friendly to me. But there are some stores that, stereotype us, and all that stuff. So for me, it's just giving people a different experience. I love hair care. I love testing new products. I'm a product junkie. Since I own a store, it's gotten 1,000 times worse because I'm testing everything in the store. And just, it's just fulfilling. And now it's also because I want to show other Black women that it can be done. And if you do it the right way, you can be successful at it. It's not going to be easy. And people talk to me all the time, and I don't sugarcoat it. And I'll be like, yeah, we did $100 today. Like, it's not an easy business, But again, if your why is something other than money, you'll be fine long term.
Most definitely. I think that's so important. I think a lot of times we start the business because of money, but then if you really want to last long and continue scaling and growing, there has to be something else outside of the dollar in order for you to really get to that next level. What's your mission? What's your vision? What's your culture? What are the core values you have? Like all those things are pretty important, so I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing because you're definitely impacting the community. You know, would you ever open any location in any other states and cities?
Are you talking about cities in the Metroplex or outside of the Metroplex?
Outside of the Metroplex.
Um, yeah, it's crazy because we have such a huge following on social media. And we've actually I think I shipped a package to Australia last week or the week before, another
Australia.
to London. Yeah, so we do some international shipping now, not much, but people ask me, come to Georgia, come to Florida. I wish you was
Right.
here. I definitely would consider it, but it will be further down the road. And it might probably be more of a franchise thing
Yeah.
if I could do that, because there's no way that I could be flying all over the world, managing stores and stuff like that. So definitely plan on opening multiple stores. It's just about timing and doing it right and not, going too fast too soon.
Love it. I was thinking, do you remember how we met?
I don't. So all I remember is I think I signed up to a newsletter
Yeah.
that you send out, and I don't even know how I found that piece, but I signed up to this newsletter, and so over the year, because I didn't have you when I first started, right? I think I hired you towards the end of last year, probably,
Yeah.
towards the end
Yeah.
of
Around
last
like
year.
August, September, October-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like constantly reading your newsletter and I think one of them that you sent out was talking about retail or something like that. I was like, oh, he knows what he's talking about. And so that kind of sparked me like, you know what, I need to go ahead and make this switch, because at the time I was with a group, and it was like, just here's your books, that's it. It was no like calls or anything like that. So I knew I needed a little bit more hand holding, because again, this is a new business for me. I'm probably overspending. I'm probably not saving enough, that type of stuff. And so, yeah, I think I just randomly found you some kind of way on the internet, and then that's kind of how that went.
No, that's kind of crazy because I think I asked you that last year, and you said the same thing, that you had gotten on my email list, and I was really trying to
Yeah.
figure out like how did you? Because I don't really, I'm really strictly on Instagram. I'm not really much anywhere else, so it's always kind of
Yeah.
interesting to hear how people hear about you or whatnot. Um, I know that whenever you came on, you were like our first beauty supply store owner. So when we brought you on, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a piece of cake. But
Right.
then when you get deep into the numbers and you're looking at everything, you're like, oh, this isn't like easy. Like this is some
Yeah.
work, like the margins that you have to work with, like I was saying earlier, are definitely much lower, and you have to really get creative and really figure out how to handle like a lot of the accounting and just like the
Right.
forecasting and everything, and even the budgeting, like, so just like hearing your story and then actually seeing your numbers and knowing what you're doing as far as like where you were when we first started and where you are now,
Right.
that's truly amazing. I'll never forget, like during Thanksgiving, I had a call, and Chris, I think, is on here. She'll probably remember. It was me, Jerry, and Chris, and we were talking about you and like, okay, what can we do? Like, how can we help her, like,
Yeah.
really get to that next level and stuff?
Yeah.
And we were kind of stumped at that moment or whatnot. But I mean, just to see your growth and everything, I always tell people, if you can figure out the sales and marketing side, then we can hopefully help you on the back end and help you keep more of that money and everything. So would you say that some of the methods and everything that we've done with you has helped?
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things that has helped me out a lot is, and I read some book, which is Profit First. You guys,
Right.
and that was important to me when finding a new accountant, because I had read the book before I even opened, or most of it, and I liked the idea I liked how they streamline things. Like
Yeah.
money. You pay yourself profit first. I like that. So to find an accountant group that actually followed that methodology was key for me. So that was one of the main things. But yeah, implementing the profit first and keeping me accountable to that, it really helped me, because
Yeah.
when I first signed on with you guys, I had a significant amount of debt. Like I had business credit card. I have a personal loan, which I use to start the business, which is going to be there until I can knock it down. But I had a personal credit card. It was several $1,000s worth. Then I had, line of credit, which was several that like, so I had a significant amount of debt, but really you guys helping me be accountable to like putting that money in the profit account and then at the end of the quarter chunking it to that debt. That was key for me. And yeah, so I've paid significantly amount of that, like down my debt, especially when we were doing COVID, because our sales were so crazy. Like we were making so much money. And so I was like, this is the time for me to like stack these accounts and, and pay this down and pay that down, but also invest in the store, so that whole thing really, really helped the business, get some debt down and stuff like that. And then strategy calls, like our monthly strategy calls with Krista, they're always good, going over my numbers and, saying this is where you are and this is what we can do and that kind of stuff for sure.
No, a lot of people don't realize, like, even with most businesses, especially beauty supply, you have to, when you open, you have to be stocked. Like, no one wants to come into a beauty supply store and just see empty shelves, right?
No.
So in order for you to have inventory, that costs money. You have to have money to even start. And a lot of times, you might go take a loan from a bank. You might go take a loan from your credit cards. You might even go take a loan from an investor or a friend or family member, but you have to pay that money back.
Right.
And so now you're buying this product. You don't even know if it's going to sell, right? It's sitting on the shelves. So now that you bought the product, you got to figure out, how do I get this thing to go off to fly off the shelves? So that way I can take that money and go buy more product, sell it, take it and go buy more product. And in turn, I would think a lot of beauty supply store locations, the rent isn't cheap. You're not going to find $800 rent. You know what I'm saying?
Unless you're in like the country somewhere, which I've heard, I'm like, wow, I wish my rent was, $1,300. That'd be so much better.
Right. So if you're in a big city, the rent's is not gonna be cheap. You have to, unless you want to work the store 24/7, you have to hire somebody to come in and help you. So you have all these bills and all this inventory that you have to purchase and you have to manage. And then you got to figure out a way to pay yourself. So that might mean that you might not even be able to leave your job to start this unless you have a nest egg that's been built up or whatnot. So there's so much uncertainty in this industry. And so the reason I'm pointing that out is, like, what you've done is truly amazing, because I don't know, you would know better than me, what's the failure rate when it comes to beauty supply store owners, like, that look like us?
I don't know I don't know the percentage, but I will say you do see stores open and you see stores close.
Right.
And it's typically within the first 2 to 3 years that you see stores close. I'm so grateful that we're about to approach our 2-year, because like last year, I was like, if it's like this next year, we're going to have to figure something out, because this is draining me and I can't, and so it is very often that you see Black-owned beauty supply stores close, and it's sad because, like you said, no one understands how much work and money we put into, and heart, most of us put into this business. We go into this business to be a service to our community, most of us. And it's kind of hurtful when you know that they don't come in for whatever reason, and so what happens is you have to close, because you can only use your paycheck for so long to cover if people are working. I've known some store owners that quit their jobs, and it was like, the store's going to pay me and pay the bills, and it doesn't work like that. They either have to go back to work or they close their their doors. And so it's hard. It's definitely hard.
Right. So all the boundaries that you overcome, everything that you overcome, it has to be applauded, it has to be commended, because you're really doing your thing. There's some comments. Kim says, applause to this woman, because most beauty supply stores don't look like us.
Thank you.
And then people are talking about what book, and Krista was in the comments. She told everybody it was Profit First. So
I highly recommend that book.
Yeah. No, I think everybody should read that book. And, so would you say that after you read it, you knew how to do it? Or
so
you grasped it pretty easily? Huh?
Yes and no. Yes and
Okay.
no. Because when I read it again, you weren't my accountant at the time.
Right.
So I read the book, and once I got all my funding and everything I needed, I went immediately to the bank and opened all these separate accounts that they recommend you open. That way I can, start off on the right foot. And that's important when you're in this business, to make sure you start off on the right foot. That includes, your taxes, your financials,
Mm,
your accounting, all of that. Like, I hired an accountant like day one because I wanted to make sure everything was in decent in order, right? And then, when taxes come, you don't have to try to figure out and look for receipts and all that stuff.
right.
So make sure your foundation is laid when you get into this
Right.
business, because you'll need all that stuff. And that's one of the reasons it was so easy to get the EIDL and the PPP, because
Mm.
financials were up to date. I didn't have to scramble. It was basically like, hey, I need this, and boom, it was done, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely I when I started the Profit First, I knew to get the accounts and stuff like that. But again, we were struggling, so it wasn't that I could like do the transfers
Right.
all the time. And that was up until this year. Like, I really didn't start
Yeah.
doing my transfers like I was supposed to up until maybe March or April.
Right.
Because every penny I needed to go back into operating, just to pay the bills and repurchase inventory and stuff like that. So, that was the hardest part, is being consistent with it.
No, definitely. It's you can read the book, but I think a lot of times when you first started, it's probably not going to be successful for everybody from day one.
Right.
But don't let that stop you from continuing. Just continue going at it, and eventually it's going to work out for you. As you grow your business, then it'll be a lot easier too. And I would also say, if you need somebody to really help guide you in the right direction with that method, there's accountants out there, such as myself, that we can help you do that. Are there any questions though? Like, I want to know, are you willing to take any questions for a few minutes from anybody?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So if y'all have any questions, put them in the comments, and then we can tackle them in the last few minutes of this. But no, I appreciate you coming on, because I know I contacted you yesterday.
Yeah. He was like, you
Last,
got a busy weekend? I was like, I don't think so. So yesterday, I forgot I worked. How about that? Like,
right.
I was sitting on the couch doing some inventory, and entering some stuff in the system, and then I got an alert on my phone: don't be late for your shift. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to work. So I'm like running around here like Celie, trying to get myself together to go to work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know what's crazy is that the fact that you said earlier, I think the very first few minutes of the call, you said that you only go to the store once a week now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people understand. She was at the store literally almost every single day, and now she's built it up to where she only has to be there once a week.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I have, at the highest, I typically keep 4 employees. Right now, I'm down to 3, and I'm the 4th one. So I work on Tuesdays. And I love working in the store. I honestly do, but I do need to make sure I take care of the job that pays me right now. But yeah, so I have 3 employees, and I started off with employees. I don't know if they know that. Like, when I opened my doors, before I opened, I had interviewed and hired people, and I'm in HR. So, I'm all official with offer letters and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I've always had employees from day one, because 1, I knew I was going to continue to work. And then 2, I knew I could not work in the store 24/7. We're open 7 days a week, for several hours each day. And one person that's too much. And although I'm not married, I don't have kids, that still is a lot, and then we have to deal with inventory, checking out customers. I applaud people who work their own stores with no employees, because I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't. Even without another job, it's a lot.
No, it's definitely a lot. There's a couple comments. Who is Bun says, how did you go about marketing the beauty supply store? I think you had touched on that a little bit earlier, but if you could touch on it one more time.
Yeah, so I kind of did grassroots, before I opened my location, I had these business cards made with just, my logo, the business email. I didn't have a location yet, so it was no address. So it was just business logo, email address, and social media, information. And then on the back, I had coming soon, Dallas, Texas. So, any given time, if I was at Starbucks and leaving, I would put them on people's business or, windshields and stuff like that. Again, I started our social media pages immediately once I got my logo. I started that. I started a newsletter. I got my MailChimp done. And so it was really about creating your tribe before I opened, so I had people following me in the journey. I was posting, stories like, what do you guys think about this location?
Right.
Keeping them a part of the build out process of the store and stuff like that. And when you include people in like that, they they're part of it. They not feel like, but they've been part of the journey. And I've seen some comments like, I love her journey, because most people have been following me from the time I first posted my first hair care tip on our business page all the way up until now, and so for that, that's kind of how I market it. I do Facebook advertising, I do radio stations. I do pretty much everything that I can to get people to know who we are and what we're about. Not just where we're located, but what we believe in.
Okay, nice. So Rita has asked this question twice. So I'm going to, since she's the wife, I must ask, what has Frankesha done to differentiate her store from others?
So for me, I've always said that I wanted to Be Polished to be a safe haven for people to come in to shop. Like when they come in, I want them to feel like they are at home. So, I've created an environment and that allows people to, not feel like they're being pressured, not feel like they're being followed and watched. We carry a lot of Black-owned hair care brands, a lot of niche brands that you don't find in the big box retailers and like in other beauty supply stores. So I've really started to, from day one, I've really catered to African-American women who want a different shopping experience and great customer service. Anybody that I hire knows that customer service is the utmost the most important. I don't care if no one buys anything, but you will treat them with respect. And I just let one employee go 3 weeks ago. I had to count because I got feedback, and it was on Google for the world to see. We got a 1-star with this lengthy review about the customer service. I was at home. I went straight to the store. This is it. That is the utmost.
Wow.
I can't express that enough, because when you can have a great product, you can have a great brand, but if your customer service is trash, your business is trash. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, I don't care what you're selling. I don't care what industry you are in, but if your customer service is not good, then people recognize that, and people don't want to support businesses that have poor customer service. Although some people continue to go back to these same places, but I think people are now coming to the light, like, why would I go over here if they don't even treat me well? Like, I can go over here and buy the same thing and get greeted, or, get some personal assistance. So that is one of the things I think differentiates us from other stores, is our great customer service. We have a great product selection. And when people ask me like, well, why don't you carry this? And the other store has all of these other things. And I'm like, next time you go into the other store, I want you to pick it up and see the dust on it. A lot of these stores, they carry things just as placeholders. My philosophy and what I always said is that if I didn't want to use the product, I wouldn't put it in the store. Like, if I'm not going to put it in my hair, I'm not going to put it in the store, And so that's kind of my basis of like product, because I do my inventory. I still do my own inventory. I go shop for the inventory. I do all the purchase orders. Like, I'm literally a one-woman show. I do our social media now. But yeah, it's just like, very niche, you know. I don't carry everything, but that's by design. I carry the best of the best. So I think those are the kind of things that makes us a lot different. And then we know my entire staff has product knowledge. You know, you can come in and ask us about a product, or what if you have, you know, hair growth issues or dry scalp, whatever the case is, we can help you with that. Whereas some of these other stores, they don't know what they're selling.
Love it. One last question. Chris is asking, tell us about how you are helping other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so I recently started my own consulting, Watkins Way Consulting, where I've actually been mentoring other aspiring beauty supply store owners. I don't do it, like, I don't push it, because it's so much that goes into it. And I also, and the way I am, I'm very hands-on, you know, so I want to work with people independently. So I'm not like out here with a client. I can't do that kind of stuff right now. But I do help other mentors. I often go live, answering questions. I know people DM me all the time about certain stuff, so I'm answering DMs. But yeah, I'm mentoring. I go live. I'm accessible, shall I say? You know, I think it's funny because some people will DM me like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for responding." I'm like, why wouldn't I respond?
Right.
And I guess that's the thing, you know, like people
Yeah.
don't respond to them, or they'll be like, you know, give me your phone number, I'll give you a call, that type of thing. So,
Right.
you know, although I'm, you know, Miss BPolished, what some people call me, I'm still Keisha. You know, I'm still a regular woman out here working a full-time job, about to go to Target when I get off this live. You know, like I'm just normal, you know. So, you know, I'm accessible. And if someone ever DMs me and, you know, it takes me a couple of days, it's probably because I read it and I forgot, but it's not that I'm ignoring anybody. I'm not like that. So.
Okay. Aaron Dill asked, do you only sell hair care? Or are you open to providing skincare?
We sell hair care. We've tried to sell skincare. Whatever my demographic, they don't typically flock to skincare in our store, but it's definitely something that I want to see about adding again. But in past, skincare really didn't sell well into the store, and what I've learned over this business is to carry stuff that sells. You know, we are in the business of, you know, getting that inventory, you know, in and out, in and out. You know, so I really can't afford to just have stuff sitting on my shelves. So I've kind of been in my head now. I know, like, sometimes I'll take chances on products, and if it doesn't move as fast as I want it to be, once it does move, I don't bring it back.
Yeah, in and out, in and out.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll bring it back.
I appreciate you, Frankesha, for taking time out of your Saturday to, you know, be with me on Instagram Live. And I hope everybody that tuned in got a lot out of this. I thought it was very insightful. There were some things that I learned about you that I didn't even know. So, you know, thank you. And, you know, obviously we'll be talking to each other soon and behind the scenes and everything. But wishing you much continued success in your business journey. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.